So this talk is a non-technical one. We'll touch a little bit on what Omnitude are doing and where we're trying to go. But it's more about the story and the journey that we've been on. So the then, how we even got to this point, the now, why my hair's white, and the when, what we're hoping to achieve further down the line. So I'm Ben Bennett, and yes, my parents were foolish. I don't know why they did that, but I'm the COO for the EMEA region of Omnitude. We're a global business. We are a blockchain-focused tech startup. And before I go into anything about the company, I was going to go through a bit about me, how I ended up meeting the team, and how we ended up stood here right now having this conversation. So, for all of my working life, I've been working in sales. I've been one of those people that has gone from telesales through to media sales, through to every version of it, through to a teacher, a coach, a trainer, a strategist, a consultant, and every version of commercialization of product or service. And that was a beautiful career. I loved it. I learned a lot. I met lots of wonderful people. And I left London about 3.5–4 years ago and moved down to the south coast. So in Brighton, my wife and I relocated. I had a beautiful baby boy. Everything's lovely and rosy. I met this guy called Chris Painter, who runs a web design and build agency called Pixel by Pixel. So, on the face of it, small agency, 10 people, they do e-commerce sites using a platform called CS Cart, which you may or may not be familiar with. And a major part of what they were doing behind the scenes, which they never really sold, was around platform and data integrations. So these guys were working with DHL and Fujitsu as two major clients, trying to get these new systems, platforms in place. And I joined the company to help them commercialise what they were trying to do, to take it to market, to get more revenues, and most of the revenues actually came from Fujitsu and DHL clients. Now, if anyone's ever heard of Chris Painter or met Chris Painter, he's pretty hard to miss. He's about this big. His brain is incredible. He comes up with ideas every other second, most of which don't go anywhere, and some of which really land. And we were having a chat one afternoon around what Pixel by Pixel needed and where it could go and what it was trying to achieve. And he'd been in to mining coins previously and never joined the technology with what he was trying to achieve. And the concept came to him, and we were sitting in a pub, Worthing Beach, which is just outside of Brighton, and he said, I had this idea. It's going to be an e-commerce solution. It's going to be a blockchain solution for e-commerce, and it's going to be data integrations and middleware. So I haven't got a clue what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. I can't even challenge you back to say that that's a good or a bad idea, because I just don't know. So I'm a curious kind of guy, so I go away and I do my research, and actually he's paying me to challenge him, so I probably should at some point. So we finally got to a point where I see that this tech is the right tech for what he's trying to achieve. And he's got a client base there, and actually the e-commerce world is screaming out for something, and bolted onto e-commerce obviously comes supply chain and everything else that comes with it. And the more we talk, the more and more this idea evolves. Now, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. It's certainly so early in this technology, we need to make sure that we've got some pinpoint laser focus on what we're trying to achieve. So, we're chatting away. He's like, right, Ben, you get it now. You want to come and join the business full time, don't you? No, Chris, no, I don't want to do that. So I'm maintaining consultant head. I'm staying in consultant mode. I want to try and help him. He starts to formulate a team. So what he's actually doing is stealing stuff from Pixel by Pixel to work on this devilishly good idea that he's got over in the corner, which is Omnitude. Now, one of the first steps we took to branding Omnitude was stealing the brand guy from Pixel. Now he is former Ann Summers, He's worked in some of the biggest retailers in the world, and this guy can hopefully turn things into something that people can associate with and want. And the name Omnitude came up because it literally means it's everything. It's fairly arrogant for a startup, I know, but so Omnitude, it's everything, is born as a brand. We then hire a marketing director. I'm there day to day trying to make sure everything's going okay. He's the brains and the delivery. I'm making sure all the detail is happening around so we can actually get somewhere. So John Harris is our brand guy, Chris Paint is our CEO, you've got me in the wings. We've got a magnificent marketing director based in Cape Town called Leanne Byrne. We found her on Upwork, marvellous resource if anyone uses it. She's now permanent marketing director, and Chris's brother Greg. Greg is one of these individuals that is an expert at almost everything he puts his hands on, so we definitely needed one of him. So there were a few of us building out Chris's vision, and in order to build out a vision and get any attention, we looked at what was going on in raising capital and how to get to a point where we could spend money on creating this idea. So those three letters, the ICO comes into play, and we'll come on to that in a bit. But in order to do that, we needed to do what most businesses did in the time, and this was at the tail end of 2017, we needed a white paper. So we needed to raise money on an idea, which is what a lot of ICOs have done. There's nothing there yet, but the prospects that it holds are quite grand. So we build this white paper. We get a fantastic blockchain consultant, we get an incredible economist, we iron out all the details, we've got a website live, and then we realise that what we've got is a fantastic idea and zero credibility in the space. Absolutely none. No one knows us, no one's ever worked in blockchain, no one's ever done anything other than dabble a bit of crypto trading. So, what do? We hire these guys. So these are some of our advisors, and these are names you might be familiar with. So Sally, bless her, probably gets harassed by tons of people like us, is a member of the Forbes Technology Council. She's an absolute stupendous mind in terms of blockchain, AI, and the way these systems can work together. She's an advisor for a number of ICOs and blockchain businesses. We approached her and spoke about what we were doing and the impact we were going to have and the charitable side of the business, and she was more than happy to join. A slight curveball is a chief commercial officer of a bank joining a blockchain business. So Michael was actually a former client of Chris's in a previous life. So we approached him, explained what we were trying to do. And the word former is in there because actually he's creating his own business around payment gateways using images. So the image is the store of value, and we'll come on to that later. But actually, in terms of someone with credibility and clout, having worked in an environment that is very pressurised, he can help us commercially. And then Simon Cocking, who's been voted #1 advisor on ICO Bench. He's the owner of Irish Tech News. He's a media guy, publicist, and actually a massive all-rounder. So these three of our headliners from an advisor perspective. We did actually have people from Oracle on our team, but as Oracle realised what these people were doing to support us, that door got shut fairly quickly. So we've now got perceived credibility, we've got a solid white paper, and we've got a whole lot of heart and perhaps naivety. So this is Chris, this is obviously me, this is brother Greg, and then the guy who took the photo is John. So this was, I think this is about 3 hours before we launched our token sale. And you can see the position of everybody's hand there. There's a distinct lack of fingernails in that group, and everybody is literally trying to work out A, what's going on, how are we going to deliver this, are we going to be credible, are we going to succeed, can we create something of value that is actually going to be marketable and turned commercially later in the day. I'm going to fast forward you to the end. Yes, we did. So we launched the token sale through a third party. We used a platform called Token Get. So Token Get provide an environment where KYC is all carried out. It's not a smart contract issuance. It's basically someone comes in, they give the money, live exchange rates against the dollar, and then you will get Econ, which is our native token. So we went through 2 rounds. We did not use private funding, we did not use VC, we did not do anything of the sort, because the idea was the power needs to be in the hands of the individual. The second we start selling out to VCs the tokens, and I say selling out, it means that you've got an individual that has a mass amount of control that can then influence price on an open market. That's something we just couldn't do in our own minds. We couldn't justify it for ourselves. So we were purely crowdfunded in the truest sense of the word. So we ran our token sale, and it started on the 31st of January. I've written most of the stuff down here for your benefit because I waffle. But we started on the 31st of January and ran it to the 16th of February. How many of you trade cryptocurrencies? Put your hands up. Okay, a few of you. If you've traded cryptocurrencies, you will know that that time was arguably one of the worst times to launch a token sale in the history of cryptocurrencies, because the market started to go heavily down this way. Now, for any business or measurement framework, anything going from top right, top left to bottom right is not a good thing. So we launched and we marketed and we communicated and we grew a phenomenal community of around 25,000 people within Telegram. There was around another 15,000 people on our email channels. And we were just being honest, we were being truthful, we were saying this is what we're buying into, this is what we're going to get out of it. So, we then raised more money through the main token sale. So our token went from 40 cents in pre-sale up to 46 cents in the main sale. And the main sale ran from the 28th of March through to the 31st of May. Both of us have already got white hair, plenty of it, and it was actually horrific. In terms of business environments, the places that I've been in, the stress, I cannot let you know enough how painful it was. At the same time, it's utterly exhilarating. You're seeing people that are buying into something that you've created, that you've nurtured, that you've grown, and they want to commit to that and be part of it. And that is a really humbling experience, but terrifying at the same time. So, the 31st of May is my wedding anniversary. I was working till 2 AM, and my wife was fortunately incredibly understanding. And we ended up at a point where we closed the doors and achieved that. Now you probably can't read that because this is a poorly laid out slide by me, but we started with 100 million Ecom tokens, and we ended up with, after we did the burn from the unsold and the ones that were split between team members and advisors, and those that are then going to be managed by our foundation, we burnt a total of just over 25 million. So it's actually a bitter pill to swallow, because we didn't sell out. But actually, in the scheme of things, 75% success rate in what was arguably a very challenging market, we saw as a success. And we managed to raise $12.6 million. So even now, I think about that, and you've got 4 or 5 people in what essentially is Andy Peters and Ed the Dutch broom cupboard, battling away, trying to make sure that we're getting a message out to the market that this is something to invest in, and we raised $12.6 million. So, you know, all credit to the guys that worked really hard on that, and again, quite a humbling achievement. So we have Bitcoin, we have Ethereum, we have some fiat contributions to what we were trying to achieve. All of the contributions were capped, so in the first round no one could commit more than $25,000, and in the subsequent round no one could commit more than $50,000. And the purpose of that again is to give an equal spread of power to those people that wanted to get involved in our process. So we're recognised, we're known, we're invested, and we're going to the next stage. So we now need to turn it into something, and the recruitment process when you're trying to hire some of the best and bright minds in this space is really hard, unless you get lucky. and we got really lucky. So, Rogues Gallery. On our left we've got a guy called James Worthington, and again we found him on Upwork quite amazingly, and he is arguably one of the world's leading brains on Hyperledger. Every single piece of Hyperledger and everything that surrounds it. He's a business intelligence guy. He's an incredibly valuable asset, and he did not want to come and work for Chris either. By which point I might add that I've gone full time. He's twisted my arm. So James and I are out in Switzerland meeting one of our partners, and we hit a spa, and we're down in the hot tubs enjoying a nice soak, and that's when I convinced him to come and join us. And well, what happened in that hot tub shall remain in that hot tub, but we have a fantastic CTO and arguably one of the brightest minds in this space. Then we've got a guy called Yuri van Rensburg as our CFO. So Yuri is actually from the south, well, he's from South Africa, but I met him on the south coast, and his background is around mining, weirdly. Nothing to do with cryptocurrencies, nothing to do with startups. And for me, counterintuitively, that was fundamental for his hire, because those people that did have crypto experience in a way wanted to portray their own views on how things should be done, when in fact if you've got a logical financial mind in your ranks, actually they can bring a completely fresh and real world perspective to the table. So that was why he joined us. And then on the end you've got Martin Braun, who's my opposite number, running our Americas division. Now Martin's the former supply chain director of DHL. So we stole him. And I think that was a fantastic steal personally. So he's been able to give us a lot more insight into the real world applications of logistics and what we're trying to achieve from an e-commerce and supply chain management perspective. So we've got, arguably, on paper, a dream team. So all throughout this process, you know, as I said, I'm a sales guy. Chris is a really inspiring bloke, and if you end up in front of him ever, he will charm the backside off of anyone and get you to buy into his visions. I don't know how he does it. I've been angry at him so many times, and I always end up apologising to him. He's one of them people. So we went out and started to forge relationships with people that other blockchain businesses that we were seeing weren't doing. And I'm talking in the ICO token space, where everybody's partnering with each other just to get a bit of credibility and boost their token price. In actual fact, we didn't feel we needed to do that. What we needed to do was try and work with businesses that are working in the real world, for want of a better phrase. So Williams Martini Racing, they're a Formula One team. I'm not shy in saying this, we paid to sponsor them. We paid to sponsor them because A, it gave us a global stance to be able to talk to all of the other sponsors within Formula One. It gave us an opportunity to have blockchain exclusivity on that entire team's technological functions. So we are working with them to build out a solution for their, I can't go into too much of it, but essentially their wind tunnels and their simulators. And it's a great relationship. Yes, we had to fork out to go into that relationship, but now we're there, it's completely symbiotic. If you don't recognise that flag, that's the Maltese government. So we have a government contract, and we are one of the few blockchain businesses that do. And the test bed that we're working on is regulating the public transport system. So they have, I should say, their bus system is a privately owned operator, and the information that goes back to the government about performance of the buses is in a CSV file. Now, anyone who knows anything about CSV files, I mean, anyone can change any numbers at any point in that, and I'm not for a second saying that they are, but what they want to do is create an environment where the data coming from operator over to regulator is what it says it was, but then offering more wider opportunities, GPS tracking, having devices talking to the blockchain, and then exploring that with the Maltese government. Next to those we've got Absolute Taste. Now Absolute Taste is not a name that a lot of you will be familiar with, but they provide high-end food to stadiums, private jets, a number of restaurants, and what they are working with us on is something that probably most people who are familiar with blockchain have seen, is a farm-to-fork solution. So we're going down that path. I'm going to come on to Image and Pay last. CSCART I mentioned right at the beginning. So CSCART are an e-commerce platform provider, off the shelf. You can set up a single vendor or multi-vendor e-commerce solution. Working with them, we have the ability to deploy our first beta product, which is an ID system, to all of their customers, which will automatically put us in front of 35,000 customers overnight. That is quite a big deal, because that means real-world application of something that we've created. And then that's just the customers, let alone the amount of users on each website. Swisscom, where James and I went, these guys are an offshoot of their telecoms business, so they are the equivalent to BT over in Switzerland. They've got a blockchain arm which has been set up by former EY members of staff. They are both outsourced development resource, but also use case consultants for us as well, and they've been invaluable actually. So these guys are speaking with anybody and everybody and narrowing down on the best projects to work with. And they are building out a fantastic department within Swisscom, our platform on Hyperledger Fabric. So Image and Pay is an interesting one. So Michael Donald, who you saw in my previous slide, former Chief Commercial Officer of Bank of America, he's got this idea that you can use images of a store of value, that you don't need a card. We know that you don't need a card already because you've got Apple Pay, Samsung Pay, whatever it might be. But having an image and creating rewards against that image based on your purchase behaviour, and then drawing those rewards and applying them to, I don't know, say you're an Arsenal Football Club fan, they might want to know that you've bought Nike trainers. They might want to know that you've bought coffee in Starbucks. They might want to know a few things. And Arsenal Football Club can get all that information if your self-sovereign ID through Omnitude allows you to switch that access on. So we're working with these guys to make sure that the images that are being used as a store of value are unique. They're not just your home photos from the family album, although they could be in the future. I'm not going to profess to know his business model inside out, but if you've got access to rare bands, sports, whatever it might be, our photographer can take one photo that belongs to them that's on the wall in their studio and digitise it and then start to monetize it. So we're working with Image and Pay to bring a new payment system to market. So you're probably recognising already that very few of these are e-commerce, and very few of these are about data integrations. And actually what happened is we started to realise that what we had was something special in terms of a product in its most basic form that could be applied to multiple industries and areas and businesses. So we've started to work with a number of businesses, gain credibility in a corporate space, and start to refine our proposition further. So after we've won all these clients, and we're still trying to do so, it looks like a building site. It's not. This is actually a new office. So I don't know if any of you saw the videos that we did recently around our Omnitude ID and our Omnitude core system. I can share them, they can be shared out to the group later. But they were filmed in this office. So we've got a sleek modern office. You can get about 30 people in here. Some nice blurry wallpaper this side. And what we've decided to do is build a little old lady's living room in our reception. So you've got 2 leather sofas, 40 quid each from the British Heart Foundation. You've got an electric heater up front, now working, and we're going to be doing a lot more fireside chats. So the fireside chats are talking about our product, talking about our evolution, talking about client wins, and I'm doing one tomorrow with Martin, our COO of the Americas, around what blockchain can do in supply chain. not a new subject, but he's an expert. So I'm going to be grilling him, not from an Omnitude perspective, but from a broader what can the tech do in this space perspective. So we're in our new office, the ladders are gone, the boxes are away, and we've got this cute little cubby hole. So it brings us on to the when, and you know, I think you're all familiar with it, when Moon, when Lambo, you know. Who cares? Who cares about moons and Lambos? I don't care about moons and Lambos. What I care about is making sure that what we're doing is valid, that it has application, that it has value, that people want to use it, that people can adopt it, they can implement it, and actually we can be a credible commercial entity. And I think that needs to be fundamental. Rather than blowing smoke up our own backsides trying to raise a token price, we're trying to take a product to market. And that is instilled in our business. We are not a hype machine. We can't afford to be, we don't want to be. So when I talk about where has our product evolved from, it's gone from a data integrations, it's gone from an e-commerce solution, and it's turned into a number of things really. It wears a few hats. So it's a middleware. It's a middleware that enables legacy systems to integrate into new blockchain solutions that will help without having to rip out anything that you've done with cloud. You don't have to pay tons of money, we'll help you integrate it, relatively low cost, and then there's just a microtransactions behaviour behind the scenes. We are creating an ecosystem where every single one of you in this room will either have a role or an idea or a position where you think, do you know what? I think blockchain can make a difference. I think this could happen, but I can't see anyone who's done it. So we want to create an ecosystem where you can have our support to build a decentralized application, stovepipe or broader, whatever it is. We'll help you build it, and if it's exceptional, we'll help you invest in it as well. And then you can deploy it through the Omnitude middleware layer to the clients that we will be having on board. So you've got an ecosystem and you've got a middleware. So they are both umbrellaed as Omnitude Core. We have Omnitude ID, which I touched on, and this is a self-sovereign ID which uses Hyperledger Fabric. I'm not a technical guy, bear with me. Indeed, and we'll also integrate Stellar. With the idea is that you've got an identity system where you have full control over your personal preferences. It will enable you to have single sign-on across all of the Omnitude-enabled websites. It will enable you to save your preferences, and if you choose to share those preferences with a retailer, the website will display everything associated to your preferences. It will also enable us to go into a sports and entertainment world, which we're heavily exploring now. So ticket touting, for example, is a real major issue, and we can wipe that out if we can get the right partners and this technology in place to deliver that. You have your Omnitude ID. You buy a ticket, you associate that Omnitude ID, so that ticket to your Omnitude ID. The seller of the ticket gets that CRM data for you if you choose to share it. But the moment, for those entertainment and sports businesses, CRM data stops there, control of the ticket stops there. They don't understand anything else about their consumer. If I can sell a ticket from my Omnitude ID to you who's got an Omnitude ID, who wants to sell it on to you who's got an Omnitude ID, if you have all said, I'm happy for the issue of this ticket to get my data, they get 3 levels of CRM data. Great for the business. What does it mean for you? So you as a user of the ID can start to earn personalised rewards off of your purchase behaviour. Again, if you choose to share that information. So, for those of you who've met me already, know I do enjoy a bit. So if people see that I'm spending my money on beer, I can share my purchase history through Image and Pay, and actually when I'm in the game, Arsenal might say, well, we know Ben's in the stadium because his unique ticket ID matched his Omnitude ID and he's redeemed it, he's in. We know he likes drinking a pint or two, so why don't we give him a 10% discount on his next 4 pints that he buys at the bar at half time. I win, they get all the data, they win, everybody's happy, there's no fake tickets in the market. It's a broader piece and we're still fleshing it out. We're talking to a number of high profile football teams, the NFL, the FA, UEFA, we're talking to, what's the circuit in Abu Dhabi? come and hit me. Gas Marina. So we're also speaking with a number of governing bodies of these sports. We've got 2 arenas, circuits, we've got a world leader in ports and shipping in the pipeline, 2 governments, and actually what's come out of the sports and entertainment thing, we are speaking with management companies who manage bands, singers, artists that will be on every one of our phones, MP3 collections, and if you still have them, vinyl and CD. And what we're doing is enabling us to have some really, really incredible conversations. We don't profess to know it all. From token sale through to now, it's been a phenomenal learning curve. We recognise our weaknesses immediately and surround ourselves by people that fill those gaps, and I personally believe that's why we've been able to do what we've done in the time that we've had to do it. And now it's all about, when do we get into the real world? When do you as individuals start using our product, and do you ever need to know you're using our product? Is it just something that's going to benefit you throughout? And we're devising that now, and it's happening. So having done our token sale, we are now moving into a further investment series, and what we're looking for potentially is either VC funding to bring the experience and the contacts as well as the money, of course, but we may mix that up with a security tokens offering as well. We may. So it might be a mixture of both. But right now we're in a position in focusing on the technology, focusing on what the benefits can bring to both the customer and the consumer, and focusing on adoption and benefits first, and counterintuitive for a business, our profits come very much second, but we see that as a byproduct of our success in the future. So that is a bit of a whistle-stop tour over our last sort of 12, 14, 15 months. I don't even know where we are at the minute. About what Omnitude is. I probably haven't done it half the justice it deserves, but I felt it would be quite nice to tell a story about a start to now.